Hello, everybody. Not sure if we are still in the morning, but good morning. Okay, so we are group Sprinnovators, and wrapping up with this course and looking back, we decided to name our project A New Chance, a New Teammate, which is actually a combination of two of our ideas that were in the end chosen. And our project revolves around Rinkeby-Kista Day Activity Centers, which I will explain what it is a bit later. For a short introduction, we're going to talk a little bit about our team and initially given challenge. So, the Sprinnovators are 6 students, 5 on the master's level and 1 PhD students with truly various backgrounds and universities. Our backgrounds span from life sciences, computer science, urban planning, and even engineering. We are international. Only Christianne is actually from Sweden, and all of us others are from different countries. So Patricia comes from Karolinska Institute. Smaranda is from Stockholm University. Me and Zaher are also Karolinska. And Antony and Christianne are from KTH. So if you are new to this area, you might be wondering what are actually the day activity centers. So which is the best depicted perhaps by this statement we included in description that when an individual receives an official decision about their disability, that gives them the right for the daily activity centers where they offer them place and tailor activities according to their needs and wishes. And all of this is actually with the purpose of stimulants, personal development, and a sense of purpose. Our problem was actually very multimodal, and we had to approach it from several angles. This was because the challenge spans from 3 main institutions, all the way from the Swedish Public Employment Service, which is on the level of government, over to habilitering, which is on the level of county, and the daily activity centers, which is on the level of city. So from an organizational way, it is quite complex, and we had to include the opinions of each of these. The types of activities that are offered on daily activity centers are, for example, gardening, doggy daycare, or cooking, while the disabilities that are covered in the daily activity centers are, for example, autism, cerebral palsy, or the Down syndrome. So back in the beginning, we've been giving a challenge, and it was as follows. Like, how can we create the Daglig verksamhet 2 by reorganizing and rebranding the organization and opening up road to employment? First, by making the daily activity center more attractive for both current and potential participants, as well as increasing internal mobility among the 6 daily activity centers in the Rinkeby-Kista area.
Now I'll talk about the insights we gained. During the initial part of the term, we did research to understand disability in the Swedish context. And we also interviewed staff and participants at the centers and other people involved in working with them, such as physicians, people who work at a group home, and agencies like Elias, Habilitering, and Arbetsförmedling. Overall, we saw that the centers have a range of on-the-job training opportunities for participants, like Marko described. However, the diversity of participants in terms of age, backgrounds, disabilities, interests, desire, and the ability to work is expanding, as reflecting in society trends. Diagnosis criteria have changed, and the area is a lot more multicultural than 20 to 30 years ago. And unfortunately, the DAC's resources, such as their budget and their freedom to do what they want with that budget, is going in the opposite direction. So new regulations put restrictions on the staff and made it impossible for them to perform some of their previous activities. And work opportunities outside the center are more limited nowadays because a lot of manual labor is being automated, digitized, or outsourced overseas. And lastly, DAC staff do not get adequate support and guidance from other agencies such as habilitating. So we have come to this revised point of view that there is a need for additional resources in order to meet the diverse needs of existing and potential participants of the Day Activity Center. And now Smaranda will talk about the challenges that we came up with, the ideas that we came up with.
Thank you. So I will present an overview of our 5 ideas with a focus on our 2 chosen concepts that we continued with in the prototyping phase. Our first idea was to transform a public building into a new DAC location in order to help the DAC to diversify their activities. Another idea was to create an NGO affiliated to the DAC in order to increase their budget by facilitating them to raise money. And another idea was to rebrand the DAC in order to increase the awareness of the public of its activities and challenges. Our 2 winner ideas were A New Chance and A New Teammate. The main concept of A New Chance was to help the DAC participants to find jobs, as there are many barriers preventing them to enter the workforce, such as the current legislation, the reluctance of businesses to hire participants, and the lack of the participants' soft skills. The concept revolves around the idea of establishing a network of businesses that will collaborate with the DAC and will engage participants in internships where they will develop their skills and strengthen their abilities to cope with real-life work challenges. For the idea A New Teammate, we aimed to establish a collaboration network with universities in order to involve the DAC in research projects with students that are doing their thesis work or PhD dissertations. Like this, the participants will learn new skills and the DAC's network will expand. As previously mentioned, we have chosen to work with our 2 ideas that both revolve around the concept of establishing a network of collaboration for the DAC. Like this, we aim for the creation of sustainable partnerships between the Activity Center and the academic and business world that will serve as a support system for the DAC's participants that will be the main benefiters from it through engagement in internships or research projects, which will lead to the development of their soft and hard skills. So why these 2 ideas? Along with our challenge givers, we have established that these 2 ideas have a common ground to build the DAC's network and to offer the participants a better chance to develop for the long term. Some factors that helped us realize that this final combination of our 2 ideas would be something beneficial are the fact that current regulations are making it difficult for participants to get into the workforce. The perception of the participants' capabilities that we realized makes companies more reluctant to hire them. The participants lack exposure to real-life situations, which can help them develop their skills. A lack of information on the DAC keeps the DAC away from opportunities, and the DAC could use external support in diversifying their activities. Our approach to achieve this consists of the creation of a 2-version brochure that will provide universities and companies with information about the opportunity to collaborate with the DAC in a win-win model. This will be provided to the potential collaborators in an initial stage of the collaboration. The other tool that will help us achieve our goal is to develop an extensive guide that will provide the collaborators with specific instructions on how to handle the participants and help them integrate and understand their tasks in order to make their engagement proactive, constructive, and durable. This guide will be provided to the collaborators in a second stage of the collaboration. So like this, with the help of provision of specific information and the guidelines, we will manage to ensure that these partnerships will be sustainable and beneficial for the participants.
Okay, so just a short description about how the process works for establishing collaboration with universities and with companies. So as Miranda mentioned, we provide the guides and information during different stages of establishing this type of collaboration. So start when an institute is searching for a subject for a master thesis or other type of thesis. And then we provide a short brochure with very general information to capture their attention and guide them through contacting the Day Activity Center to do their research there. And then during this process, we provide 2 types of guides. One to provide very general information about the Day Activity Center, and the other one is more deep information about the participant and how to deal with them. And after discussion with the Day Activity Center and designing the project work can start. And also for the process for establishing internships, and what we mean here by internships, it's unpaid internships. It's very similar to work experience for the participant, but they don't lose their secure income of sick allowance. So we start with finding a company that is very suitable for the participants' disability, and then we provide their very short brochure to give very short information and about the activity center and the participant to capture their attention. And then the activity center will contact these companies, and we provide their two types of guides to provide information about the activity center and how to deal with the participant and its disability. And then the internship would start. And what to mention here that the first two steps, both for establishing collaboration and to establish internship with companies, are coming from establishing a big network where the day activity center can find appropriate other collaborator or a company. And for that, we also can use our brochure to make this network for the day activity center.
Now, as mentioned earlier, our initial ideas 2 and 5 revolved around reaching out to the wider community to create internship opportunities for the day activity center participants, as well as new activities at the day activity centers from a team of volunteers. We created draft posters and marketing materials for these and imagine how our personas are comprising of a DAC staff member, a DAC manager, and 2 participants, Maria and Thomas, would react to each idea, the benefits they would gain, but also the challenges they would face. We went back to interview our stakeholders from previous stages, as well as new stakeholders such as the managers of another day activity center in Stockholm area, 2 university professors and 6 students and 5 business owners for feedback on these prototypes. The feedback we received from interviews helped us in filling the gaps in our initial process and ensure that the starter packet addresses the primary questions and contained the important information they wanted to know. Now, looking at the first, next slide. Yeah. Now, looking at the first part of the information packet that is dedicated to attracting universities and their students to collaborate with the day activity centers for research and thesis purposes. This brochure also explains briefly how the collaboration can be initiated, successful stories of previous collaborations, and the general welfare of the participants, including their strength, motivation, and challenges they face throughout the journey at the day activity centers. We do believe that this information will help students empathize with the situation of the participants and be able to interact easily. To you, Marko.
And as you see, the brochure type 2 is more suited for companies, as we changed a little bit of pictures and the motives on it, and as well as the colors. You might notice this QR code, and actually we imagined this brochure to be in a physical printed form, and the person, by scanning the QR code, is taken to this part 2, a little bit broader information package. We have explained the strengths and the challenges of participants on this brochure. We have even mentioned a success story of one of the participants that was working in Rinkeby on some tasks of maintenance, cleaning, and so on, as well as we included for the process of hiring in the five simple and easy steps for them to understand how the process might go.
For the guide, since the DAC is an unfamiliar place to most of the general population, we want the students or business owners to feel familiar with the environment and the DAC's goals and values, and get them inspired to think of ideas in their fields that would help the DAC participants or contribute to the world of disability in general. So the first part of the guide is a more in-depth introduction to the DAC, how they work, and the challenges that they face. And we also included some hints of potential research topics in order to stimulate ideas. And then the second part of the guide, we aim to help the readers to both feel empathy with the DAC participants and overcome any hesitation they might have about working with persons with disabilities. This was hard to do in only 4 pages, but we decided to write it in the first person perspective from the point of view of a DAC participant. And most of the text has this format. First, we stress that disabled people have very similar needs to ours, such as being able to move around, wanting to communicate, needing to plan their day, and in this screenshot, wanting to learn, but also needing to be motivated to learn, which is something most students will be able to relate to. Next, we list aspects of this area that DAC participants may find challenging. This is what most people immediately focus on when they think of disability, but this is only a small part of our guide. We wanted to spend more time on the strengths of the DAC participants and suggested techniques for working with them. For example, this section contains a brief explanation of why DAC participants may prefer communicating with pictures instead of merely with words. When we communicate, there are a lot of social cues and reading between the lines that happens, and DAC participants may not interpret these in the same way. So pictures remove the ambiguity for all involved. So hopefully the short text will help the readers understand why visual communication and concrete language are so important for most of the participants. The other parts are also written in a way that is hopefully relatable and understandable. Lastly, we included some tips and tools for working with the participants, and we tried to keep these very concrete and hands-on instead of clinical and theoretical. And we also stress that these are general guidelines and every participant has their individual traits and challenges. The DAC support person will later on work together with the external party, whether it's the business owner or the university student, to create a more specific plan for each individual.
Okay, thank you, Christianne. With this, we would like to end our presentation, and as well, we would like to thank for everybody who participated, who provided us with feedback, as well as teachers that were guiding us through this process and taught us to actually trust it all the way to the end. Thank you all for your attention, and we are welcoming any type of feedback or questions in the next session.